We've had a roller coaster of a day, and we've
Oh
had to
yeah.
go free range hunting uh, tonight for the news carcass. So we're just going to improvise. I'm Kevin Hoare, and I'm here with Mr. Revoke Your Consent, David
Mm-hmm.
Darnell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to start glancing at headlines and reading them off. Here's one.
Oh, you know what you should do? You know what would be really fun? Is Google climate change and read the headlines from all of the things that Google gives you. Try it. You'll love
Okay,
it. You'll love it.
climate change. Let's see here. What is climate change? NASA's going to tell us. Climate change, vital signs of the planet. Climate change, Wikipedia. Climate change, National Geographic
Well,
Society.
there should be a news ticker, at least on my Chrome. When I Google it, it shows me like BBC and CNN and and all of the. It doesn't matter what day you do it, Kevin. All of those headlines are. It's the hottest year on record. It's it's
Oh
absolutely
yeah,
great.
it's been the hottest year for every year,
Yeah.
and it's always getting hotter. Well, let me see what happens, because what I did is I kind of chucked the Google search itself, and I have like Norton Safe Search or DuckDuckGo or something like that, and so it's probably blocking that stuff, which I don't know if I miss it really, but climate change. Let's see what we get. Yeah, so here we go. Effects of climate change worsening in every part of the U.S., which is
Yep.
amazing because the weather's different in every part of the U.S. Um,
But it's
climate
worsening. The weather's worsening.
the weather's worsening. By what objective definition? If it's getting colder and you like it hot, then I guess it's worsening.
Yeah. Well, it's raining more and it's raining less.
Climate change, fossil fuels hurting people's health. That's apparently it's the climate change is hurting people's health. So it's the climate's fault apparently. And the fifth national climate assessment lays out climate threats and dot dot dot.
Ooh, climate stress.
Climate change is hastening valley fever's spread in American West. So that must be some kind of pollen that is apparently okay. No place in the U.S. is safe from climate crisis, but a new report, I have to click on that one, shows where it's most severe. It's getting worse everywhere. No place is safe, but here's where it's worse than not safe.
Right.
That's
It's worse. It's worse in neighborhoods of color.
Yes, exactly. Climate change hovers right over neighborhoods of color.
And
Here's
and
the best one.
LGBTQ adjacent neighborhoods as well. It's pretty bad there too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's the best one. This trio hopes won't give up, in quotes, will become an anthem for the climate movement. It is Yo-Yo Ma, Patty Gonia, and Quinn Christopherson. Let me just see if I can share this. Let me see if I can share this, because I think the picture actually speaks louder than the article, which it's like some song. It says November 2023 is November 14th. And so this is them standing around and this you have to see. I will share it. And then you can decide what this, if there we go. And there it is. That is the trio that is going to help us understand climate change.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I guess you can change the climate with music, huh?
Yeah, they are hanging around a melting glacier in Alaska. I said, we're standing here, all three of us, on Exit Glacier in a spot where even 5-10 years ago, the glacier was 100 feet tall, said drag queen and vocalist Patty Gonia, who collaborated on the song.
Patty Gonia. Oh,
yeah, Patty Gonia. And and there's the song. Patty Gonia. I mean, I know Yo-Yo Ma and Christopherson or whatever are sitting down, but Patty Gonia looks like he, whatever, is about 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So,
Well, drag queen, it would be a he, right? Isn't that how that works?
you know, I don't know. I guess here's what I'm upset about. This article is not giving the proper pronouns for me to figure this out. I have to read the article in order to figure it out. Yeah. And that's not very fair to me because, if I can't be given pronouns, I sure as hell am not going to look them up.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all learn the proper pronouns in school, pronouns and proper pronouns, but apparently now you need a dictionary or a glossary of pronouns.
Yes, and Patagonia is, I think that's an orange mustache. So, yep, or something orange in the face. But look, that is the result of the thought experiment that David just had us engage in, and I think it's been a successful experiment here.
Yeah.
Patagonia.
Yeah, if you ever need a laugh, just Google climate change and read all of the headlines from the promoted or preferred media outlets, because it is the same every day. Every day that you search that, you get the same. Climate change is bad. It's worse. It's killing people. People are dying. Dogs are suffering. They reach deep.
No place is safe, David. No place is safe.
They reach deep for the headlines to support the climate change narrative, and I think it's just hilarious.
Well, and yet things that are true emergencies, they can't get anybody to do anything about. Like the Measure 110 emergency, it's a freaking emergency.
Yeah,
like everywhere. And
people are dropping like flies. I just saw another report of 70 overdose calls in a 24-hour period for Portland Fire and Rescue, or whatever they are, Portland Fire Department.
You know what that means? That means any minute now we're going to see an article that says climate change resulting in excess fentanyl deaths. That is what's going to happen. Climate change is going to cause that. We're only days away from seeing such a headline, because if they can't blame it on climate change, then they can't claim to be solving it, even though no one is actually solving climate change. Is anybody solving it?
I don't think it's a problem that needs to be solved, Kevin.
Oh, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that the people who are claiming to be solving climate change, is there any evidence that something has been solved or resolved in any way, shape, or form?
I don't think there's any credible, solid, well agreed upon by the scientific community evidence that number one, there is climate change, or number two, that anything that is proposed by the environmental left and really the broader left or the mainstream left has any effect whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. And as long as there is no measure, everybody can either claim to be solving it with inputs, which are infinite, because if you aren't solving something in it, and let's say it can't be solved for argument's sake right now, then how many inputs are you going to need to solve it? Infinite. That's just math.
Yeah. I mean, the climate change, the whole exercise of Googling the headlines, that's the science right there, is those headlines. Right? that's the science.
And I think it's political science is what it is.
Yeah, it is political science. It's designed to separate people from their money.
Yeah, so I found a good headline. Why does Oregon do poorly in rolling out new initiatives?
That's a great carcass to nibble and pick on.
Absolutely. And
why does Oregon struggle with anything? Or I should say everything. Why do they struggle with everything, Kevin? It's because there's no executive administration. There hasn't been for many years. It's just the headlines. The headlines are they're kind of like the science of climate change. They just reinforce the fact that Oregon administratively can do nothing. properly. Well,
Yeah, they can't even execute the things they really believe in, and I think one of the reasons why they can't execute things is because oftentimes they blame the failure to properly execute something when the idea was fundamentally stupid and wrongheaded and doomed to fail in the first place. But it's really, so this is, they give an example here. So here's what it says: Measure 110, the voter initiative reducing drug penalties while hoping users turn to addiction treatment,
right.
is a glaring example of unintended unintended. I don't, that's not what the people who are supporting it are saying. And then Measure 114, aimed at gun safety, is stuck awaiting a Harney County judge's ruling on its constitutionality. I got an answer for that one. Don't do unconstitutional crap, and you won't have that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they need to hire a new
Oregon-
legislative council, because all this stuff goes through legislative council and they can't seem to figure it out.
Well, this one I think was a voter initiative, wasn't it? And they went and got signatures, and so their lawyers were stupid, or they were diabolically clever because this is what they wanted to see happen.
Right.
But then again, they're waking people up at this point. But it says, but Measure 110 poorly executed. I'd hate to see it well executed, because what it's doing is it's been very effective.
Isn't it doing what it was supposed to do, which was protect the customers of drug dealers and drug cartels?
Yeah, and unleash hell on our streets so that they could blame all of us for, all the people that are lying around on the streets doing fentanyl.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously just a lack of money.
Yes, it's lack of money. What they need is more money and more time, David. That's how you fix every problem. Yeah. More money, more time. Yeah. That's why Ronald Reagan was right. For yet another reason, Ronald Reagan was right, because he once said the closest thing on earth to eternal life is a government program. In Oregon, it is eternal life. These things will get into power, they'll get into force, and then you can't get rid of them because they just need more money and more time to finally produce the great results everybody said they would. Which I'm just afraid of what that's going to mean. Oregon Employment Department estimates it paid $76 million in fraudulent benefits claims during 2021, more than triple the amount identified the previous year. And COVID-19 payments to keep payrolls afloat also had their share of poor execution, delays, fraud, and albeit on the federal level. And now comes the state's paid family leave program, which OPB is actually admitting that Oregonians are getting a letter saying that they've been approved for paid leave benefits that they've never applied for. It is a red flag that the recipients has been the subject of identity theft.
Yeah.
So it's the government's found a way to create yet another method for people to to engage in mass identity theft. Wow, talk about
it's economic stimulus. It's an economic development program.
Some guy in his basement in Nigeria is making a ton of money stimulating the Nigerian economy off of stealing people's identities in Oregon and getting their paid family leave benefits. Oh my God. And this is and the people who are applying are being thanked by having significant delays receiving their checks due to, quote, hang-ups with the application process and mistaken guidance from newly trained customer service representatives, unquote. That sounds like when they were trying to give unemployment benefits to the unemployed in 2020, and they took 8 months.
Yeah.
And then ended up having to then they sent too much to a bunch of people and had to take it back.
Yeah, they forced everybody to become unemployed by governor's decree, and then couldn't pay them their unemployment insurance compensation or their employment
for 8 months.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, we talked about it at the time. I mean, that had to have been hard on a lot of people. I mean, you don't get the follow up in the news, like, how many foreclosures did that cause? How many divorces did that cause? How many repossessed vehicles,
Well, and actually, maybe that's why they came up with Measure 110, was to make it so that at least you could go sell fentanyl to make ends meet, and it would be totally fine. I'm sorry, unemployment check didn't come, but
Well, as you
you
pointed
know,
out yesterday, it sounds like the bottom's falling out of the fentanyl market, and so it doesn't seem like you can make much money in that anymore.
oh really? I hadn't heard that.
No, you said it yesterday that fentanyl could be had for what, 80 cents?
Oh, that's because the supply coming in from
Yeah,
across the southern border. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
It has to be a volume business, so you're
yeah.
probably not making as much money unless you're doing what are those? Volume, volume, volume.
Well, they need more customers is what they need. They need more people nodding off in the streets. But yeah, I would imagine it's really hard to probably make money at 80 cents a pill. Because wasn't it, within this year, wasn't it like $3? I seem to remember people
Yeah,
saying it was $2 or $3 a pill. And I don't know if a pill is a dose. I don't know what the hell it is, but wreaking havoc on the heroin trade, that's for sure.
yeah. Too bad for the heroin dealers, huh? I mean, that's just so unfair. Um,
Well, those poor
so
poppy farmers I mean, they have mouths to feed.
that's right. Until that gets banned, that's only a matter of time. It's just really interesting to see how they manage to repeatedly create and more stupid. The poor people who actually believe that the government was going to give you benefits if you took paid family leave. There's one that they describe here in this article, facing eviction soon. And it's because they actually believed that when they were told that they were going to get paid family leave, and instead only people stealing other people's identities are going to receive it. That's what's
Yeah.
great about it.
Yeah, well, apparently, yeah, whoever's stealing those identities know how to make the system work. Either there's somebody on the inside helping them out. I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't put that past any department in the state of Oregon, because really nobody's watching the store, Kevin. I mean, we've been watching it for years and years, and it's obvious, that nobody's watching the store. Certainly, no one is watching the IT part of the store, because that's all a big failure. It's absolutely incredible, and I'm sure the Secretary of State, who's charged with auditing the various agencies, apparently can't figure it out either.
The only thing worse than the cutting edge mid 1980s technology they're using to run most of the state government here in Oregon is when they go out and they put out a contract to somebody to replace it. It takes 10 years and it costs 5 times what it was going to cost.
And then it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work. I know.
I mean, Care Oregon Care Oregon will be in a textbook and some public administration curriculum in the future.
Absolutely.
$500 million for a website that never worked.
Yeah, and then you know what? They'll hire Kate Brown to be a professor to teach what they could have done better, or John Kitzhaber for that matter. By the way, when these things fail IT-wise, then they just throw a bunch of newly trained customer service representatives who then cause people to experience, quote, hangups with the application process and mistaken guidance. So it's not like that when they go with, people instead of computer systems, they actually improve the situation. That's actually not likely to happen in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Lori says here that she's been waiting 3 weeks for her FMLA.
What is an FMLA?
That's the family, isn't that the family leave?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Lori.
Yeah, this is
Oregon.
It's being solved at the speed of government. They've got crack teams of incompetence all over it. Probably busy vacationing in Puerto Rico and working remotely on the problem.
Yeah.
At least a couple hours.
Living in Las Vegas and running a Oregon agency or whatever that recent story was.
That's right.
God.
Well, and
what a grift.
This is a great money-making thing because you've got good intentions, you've got people forced to pay for it, and you've got people who don't actually have to do it, who don't have to work, and don't even have to be physically present to go make money not accomplishing anything. That is an endless source of work and income because you achieve nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's no one looking, going, hey, this isn't working. You know, we need to change that. I mean, heads need to roll is what needs to happen at these agencies, but that rarely happens unless there's a pocket or a bag full of the weed cash slipped to a governor in exchange for the head of the OLCC, the head of the OLCC.
So here is this is the result of a congressional act passed, I think, in 2021 or 2022, when the Democrats are in charge, that requires something that when the news talks about it here, they make it sound like they're just seeking input. The Army Corps of Engineers is seeking input on hydropower generation on the Willamette River dams. And here's the question that they're asking, because apparently they have to do this because Congress requires the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to gather information about this and give a report to Congress. And here's the question they're asking. Does it still make sense to generate hydropower from the dams on the Willamette River? Would it make more sense to remove hydropower because it's going to be in the best interest for the cost of the federal government and for local communities? I don't know how not having electricity using water and gravity is in the best interest of anyone, but
yeah. I mean, that, solar power comes from the sky and wind power kind of comes from the sky, but that rain, that generates some electricity.
It really does generate it. I think it generates somewhere close to half of our electricity here in Oregon. And the brilliant people.
They actually framed it that way, huh? They framed the question.
I'm reading the question
with a falsehood, like it's in the best. I mean, how could it possibly not be in the best interest of the communities to keep that already paid for and exceedingly inexpensive form of electrical generation?
Well, just so you know, you'll have a great chance if you could go back in time to Monday and give input on this virtually. And then you also, if you drive you've got 2 minutes left to go to the Salem Public Library and give in the Laux Auditorium and give feedback in person to the Army Corps of Engineers. So apparently they really didn't want this to be widely viewed by the public. But let's help them with this question. Does it make sense to improve a key source of electrical generation so that you can not have affordable, reliable electricity? Would it make more sense to remove that very reliable, renewable source of electricity because it's going to be in the best interests of radical left-wing environmentalists and politicians who rely on them to get reelected? Does that sound like a better way to phrase the question?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's an asinine premise to start from because, again, these dams are built, paid for. They're inexpensive to operate. If you care, they're carbon neutral. And they are as reliable as rain in Oregon.
Rain in Oregon. Yeah. Rain, which leads to water flowing through a river, pulled down by gravity, and they think it's in the best interest to get rid of them.
Yeah. We're already seeing it. We saw it down at on the Klamath River, just over the southern border in California. They'll have 4 dams removed by the end of this year. So they are, in fact, removing these, again, already paid for, amortized out, reasonably inexpensive to maintain, very inexpensive to generate, and very dependable sources of power. And at the same time, they want to ban, natural gas for heating and cooking, and move everybody to not only electric cars but all electric houses, and I guess power it with a windmill or or we just get electricity during the day through solar. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think anybody's thought this through.
So what they're going to do, interesting, what they're going to do is by getting rid of a form of renewable electricity that is reliable and affordable in Oregon, they're going to do several things. One is they're going to force the use of other energy sources to fill that. That's probably going to produce more carbon pollution, which, as we know, the so-called carbon pollution is therefore going to lead to more climate change, which means it's going to kill all the fish anyway. So why don't we just leave the dams?
Yeah. Well, Marjorie brought up a really good point. I forgot about the farmers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, dams are essential to
Irrigation.
yeah, otherwise arid.
We don't need food, David. They'll just produce like pellets out of, I don't know, bugs or something, won't they?
Or people, I don't know.
Maybe that too. Maybe that too.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. That's right. Well, or it'll just be like the Matrix. You know, have you ever seen the Matrix? You know, you're just a node.
Yeah. Fuel, well, you're a fuel source. You create heat.
That's right. You're a battery. So be a node. Vote Democrat. There you go.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to move us. I mean, their progressive agenda is trying to move us back into the 19th century. That's for sure. So
interesting.
Which is okay because I like donkeys. I mean, I think donkeys are cool.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They'll have to go. It'll go from being a political symbol to the chief source of transportation, and is a donkey. That's what you'll be left with, which I believe is a horse designed by a committee, if I recall. But the last time I checked, that's still true. The Department of Justice asked the court to hide surveillance of congressional investigators for 5 years. They were surveilling Republican congressional investigators who were looking into what was going on in the Department of Justice and what was taking place with regard to these Trump investigations. And so the court orders make clear that the Department of Justice under both Presidents Donald Trump and Joe Biden kept making annual court requests after 2018 to keep the existence of the congressional subpoenas secret. And then there's something involving Google, but Patel, what's his name? The guy that was the investigator for Devin Nunes. They were spying on these guys. They were spying on all of them. And they got court cooperation to hide that they were doing this.
To hide the fact that they were spying.
Yeah.
Wow.
On the people investigating them.
Well, freedom and liberty dies in secrecy. That's for sure. So I don't think the country was intended to work that way. Just, maybe my naive interpretation of America's founding documents and principles, but I just don't think it was designed to work that way.
I don't think so either. And one of the headlines that I saw here, FBI targeting Trump types, agents who served in the military. Oh, so here, this is a great story, actually. Agents who served in the military, FBI agents who served in the military were deemed disloyal. Here's what qualified as disloyalty. They found a copy of these disclosures. And here's one employee was deemed disloyal to be a right-wing radical and disloyal to the United States, according to two people within the Justice Department who are a guy named Jeffrey Veltri, who was the Deputy Assistant Director of the Bureau's Security Division, and Dina Perkins, Assistant Section Chief, specifically pursued employees who served in the Marine Corps or other military branches. They stripped the agents of their security clearances, which sidelined them on the job, pushed them toward the exit. And they had them declared as disloyal to the United States, even though in these cases there was no indication that any individuals had any affiliation with any foreign power or held any belief against the United States. Here's what they did use to decide that they were disloyal. Failure to wear a face mask. refusing to take the COVID-19 vaccination.
I'm a
And
traitor.
get this one, participating in religious activities.
Well, apparently I'm a traitor and I deserve to be shot.
Well, we already knew that. That's right. I know several other people that would fit this definition, including some who have served or were serving in the military. And apparently that's grounds for considering you to be disloyal to the United States of America.
Fortunately, Congress is rewarding the FBI with a new $300 million office. So
this has really become serious because at some point there's going to be a cost for us allowing this to continue.
That is it right there, allowing it to continue.
Yeah. I mean, we're funding it to continue, and
We
there's
are.
just no way that should happen.
Yeah. All done with your tax dollars.
Yeah. So right. They're actually taking our money and giving it to these guys so that these guys can decide that if you don't want to wear a mask, don't want the COVID-19 vaccination, or attend religious services, that you are disloyal to the United States and should be forced out of your job. Look, does an FBI that decide that is the criteria for somebody being disloyal and compelling them to leave the FBI? Is that an entity that should continue getting our money? That's a great question.
No, it's not. No. Now that big building down there at the end of the National Mall, that building does not deserve to continue to get any of our funding.
Yeah.
All of that, all of the money that we send them is enabling them to do what they do. They can't do it without money. They won't do it without money. If there's no money, all those people are going to leave. They're going to go find money. I mean, that's what they're after, is power and money. And money is, in fact, power. And like you say, there will be a price to pay at some point in time as they continue to build this surveillance state, this police state, this heavily regulated surveillance state. We're all going to pay for it with our liberty and our freedom.
Yeah, that is the price, actually. So we've got a few really great stories to round out our show here with. Sacramento sheriff says he was prevented from stopping theft by Walgreens and Target management. So a sheriff is present at these stores or wishing to go and enforce the law, and the management of the store said, no, let them steal from us.
Maybe they need the tax break. I don't know. I don't think Walgreens, was it Walgreens who was not doing well? I guess that was Rite Aid that I'm thinking of.
Rite Aid, yeah. Rite Aid's in and out of bankruptcy all the time.
Yeah, they've been in and out of financial insecurity for decades, if I remember correctly. Well, there you have it. I mean, I guess if you look at either the people that run those companies or the actual companies themselves and see where they make their political donations, that might explain why they don't want the lawlessness enforced within their stores.
Well, there is a bright light here. By the way, the Sacramento Sheriff, Jim Cooper, who's complaining about this, he was a former Democrat assembly member. It said the employees of local Walgreens asked for his department's help to stop repeat offenders who continually shoplifted their stores with no fear, most of whom were homeless individuals who set up camp nightly by the store. As a team of about a dozen deputies began setting up the operation, Walgreens' corporate office refused to cooperate with our deputies, making it impossible to carry out our operation on the Walgreens store. Cooper says he faced similar difficulties with Target, contacted his department numerous times to help them with shoplifters, most of whom were transients, specifically like the homeless, as they're called, but not really. They weren't looking for a home. They were looking for free stuff to buy fentanyl with. And they said they could not contact, handcuff, or arrest individuals within the store. They'd have to do their work behind the store in the rain because they did not want to create a scene for people on social media and cause negative press. Now, here's a positive thing. Sacramento County District Attorney Thien Ho filed a lawsuit against the city of Sacramento for failing to enforce existing ordinances relating to homelessness. So there's actually a district attorney who's suing the city for failing to enforce its homelessness ordinances. And actually, he makes a great point. It's not compassionate to allow unsafe conditions to fester so badly that a 14-year-old boy cannot ride his bike to school, or a group of little girls can't play soccer on a field littered with needles. It's not compassion when somebody in a wheelchair cannot use a sidewalk blocked by tents, or a small business is forced to close forever due to repeat broken windows and vandalism. That's why he filed this lawsuit. So, like, every once in a while, an emerging hero starts. I mean, if things go in the right direction, this guy will be the Attorney General of California, and stuff will start to reverse.
Yeah. Well, we know very well about the Soros AG program and the Soros's SOS program, and how it foments chaos within society by not prosecuting crime. And really, I think that's probably the largest component of the problems that we have with the druggies and the homeless, is that the laws that they break are not they're not held accountable for the laws that they break.
Which means that there aren't any laws in effect. It's like a zone of lawlessness.
It is. If you can't change the laws to foment chaos within a society, then elect attorney generals who will not prosecute. And that's been done quite effectively in many cities. And Portland, Multnomah County is one of them.
U.S. soccer Olympian Megan Rapinoe says injury in final game of career is proof that God doesn't exist. She was at a press conference after the game. She had to leave early in the game in the championship of the National Women's Soccer League. And it would appear she might have torn her Achilles tendon. And it's unfortunate anytime anyone gets injured. But she's been pretty open and vocal about what she thinks about the United States. She was the one who kind of led the effort to kneel or turn their back on the U.S. flag over social justice protests. And she says, here's the quote: "I'm not a religious person or anything, but if there is a God, like, this is proof there isn't. This is effed up." That statement just about says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nearly everyone that has heard this and knows anything about Megan Rapinoe would seem to suggest that maybe this is far more proof that there is a God than there isn't, based on the way she phrased the statement.
Yeah. Was it Nietzsche that would be proud? I forget.
God is dead. Yeah. Well, here's the final story tonight, David. Giants are real. Former Oregon town official goes viral for mythical sighting claim of, you guessed it, Bigfoot. A giant.
Well, there was that deer carcass at the end of my driveway that I'm pretty sure got dragged across the way.
And you thought it was a mountain lion.
Yeah. As a side note, that carcass is mostly gone this morning.
Really? That is interesting.
Yeah.
Nothing left, or some of it?
No. There's. I'd say there's probably a third of it left. Yeah.
Well, this is in the Cascade foothills of Lynn County on October 23rd. A post on TikTok. That's a reliable source, TikTok. A former Sweet Home City Council member has gone viral after posting a video in which he spotted a mythical giant. He said he was traveling along Quartzville Drive near Green Peter Reservoir and saw a distinct rock formation open like a door. Peeking from behind the giant. Really? The former government official said the mountain door allegedly closed back up when he filmed the video after the sighting, which received more than 5 million views before he took it down. Why did he take it down? It looked like somebody was staring out of it. Dude, giants are freaking real. I don't care what anyone says. That's a quote from the guy.
Well, it is mushroom season, Kevin.
Well, it is. It is. This is proof of shrooming. And by the way, I don't know if this comes full circle from our climate change trio that were doing the song here at the beginning. I can't even find that post anymore. But, oh yeah, here we go. Patagonia. 7 feet tall or something. So maybe it was Patagonia emerging from this cave to doing a scientific study trying to monitor climate change in the Whitcomb Creek County Park in Lynn County.
Well, I'm surprised that Bigfoot would be spotted so far north. I thought he, or at least so close to the valley.
Maybe even he got out of California.
Yeah, maybe.
He landed in Oregon, and that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered the most important and certainly the most compelling stories of the news carcass today. And we probably chewed this carcass all the way down to the skeletal remains, right?
Yeah, I think we did. Sorry, I had to mute there for a second because my dog is trying to talk to me, the little barky one.
Well, I think we did, and we did everything we can to bring it to all of you. Please consider sharing this with everybody you know. And any last stories you wanted or thoughts you wanted to share before we conclude for the evening? Is there a news story we missed?
No, not that I saw today. I didn't see much news today. I was busy working, but I think a good piece of advice is to go light on the mushrooms when you're out in the woods. Especially
if you think you might run into Patagonia, because anything could happen at that point, including, you can go viral on TikTok, I guess. So, well, thank you, David, for joining me here tonight.
Thank you, Kevin.
And we will be back tomorrow night with the next episode of The Captive Audience. It should be Don and Sunny returning in fine form and with more news to cover. And thank you for watching. We appreciate your viewership, and we will see you tomorrow night. Have a great night, everyone.